while we may be familiar with the likes of Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and more, there are a number of other lesser-known titles that are worth indulging in for your horror fix. Let's take a look at 15 of them here. Scarlet Hollow. For all intents and purposes, Scarlet Hollow is a visual novel with extensive dialogue choices, traits, and a relationship system, where it's possible to become friend or foe with different characters, further influencing one's own story. Backed by some great art and aesthetics, there's a genuinely disturbing tale underneath, with events changing based on your choices. What dark mystery awaits in this quiet mining town? It's up to you to find out. The Witch's House MV. Don't let the RPG Maker visuals fool you. The Witch's House is a terrifying and ultimately tragic tale. It focuses on Viola, who awakens in a forest one day and finds herself exploring a strange manor. Along with avoiding sudden death traps, she must also contend with the mysterious witch. Originally available as a freeware horror game in 2012, The Witch's House MV offers better-looking map tiles and character sprites, 2 new difficulty settings, and additional events upon completing the game once. YOMAWARI, Midnight Shadows. As the second game in the Nippon Ichi's YOMAWARI series, Midnight Shadows offers much of the same survival horror, but with a better story and improved visuals. It sees Yui and Haru watching fireworks in a mountain clearing and returning home, only to be attacked and separated, switching between each perspective as they struggle to reunite. The world suddenly comes alive with hostile spirits and a terrifying presence that's hunting them, as the player attempts to piece things together with any notes discovered. Tormented Souls. A throwback to old-school survival horror titles, Tormented Souls takes inspiration from the likes of Silent Hill, Alone in the Dark, and Resident Evil. Along with combining items to solve puzzles like in Resident Evil, you'll also explore an alternate reality like in Silent Hill. It may sound derivative, but Tormented Souls actually delivers on its premise, offering creepy monsters and mysteries to go with the solid gameplay. Condemned Original Origins. The sequel may be sleeker, but in terms of atmospheric terror, Condemned Criminal Origins is still very much worth playing. The first-person survival horror sees FBI agent Ethan Thomas investigating a range of serial killers, venturing into seedy areas and fighting with improvised melee weapons, especially since ammo is sparingly available. There's also a fair bit of investigation and evidence gathering to solve puzzles and ultimately find the cause of the city's spiral into madness. Yuppie Psycho. It seemed like a normal day for Brian Pasternak, at least as normal as it could be when joining Sintracorp, but his first task involves hunting a witch that roams the corporation's halls, slaughtering its employees indiscriminately. Other strange characters and foes also await, as Brian must be sneaky and investigate each floor. Though it seems like a rather off-kilter survival game, Yuppie Psycho is a trippy experience with plenty of puzzles and interesting endings to unlock. Year Walk. Before Sayonara Wild Hearts, Team Simogo delivered a darker journey in Year Walk. Based on the Swedish tradition of Arsgång, it sees Daniel Svensson embarking in the Year Walk to glimpse into the future. Along with encountering and learning about various folklore creatures, players must solve various puzzles and ultimately prevent a tragedy. If you're seeking a disturbing point-and-click adventure with a unique aesthetic, Year Walk is worth checking out. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Based on Harlan Ellison's acclaimed short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is set in a post-apocalyptic future where much of humanity has been wiped out, and a sadistic sentient master computer named AM has been torturing 5 survivors for the past century. In a new challenge of sorts, the 5 must confront their traumatic pasts and maybe, finally, escape from AM's clutches. While its old-school idiosyncrasies may turn off some players, in terms of sheer disturbing content and terror, few games can compare to it. Forewarned. Recently released on Steam Early Access, Forewarned is a Phasmophobia-style adventure, which sees up to 4 players delving into Egyptian ruins to investigate the history behind the Magi. As you explore the procedurally generated levels, or remain in the excavation tent and provide information to your teammates, You'll collect relics and other loot while avoiding the Magi's grasp. With randomized AI, each foray can be harrowing, and in a neat twist, deceased players can return as the Magi to haunt their friends. Sanitarium. Another classic adventure title, Dreamforge Entertainment's Sanitarium is part mystery and many parts surreal horror. After a car accident that puts him in a coma, a man awakens in an asylum with no memory of his past. Things only get stranger from there as he somehow goes from the asylum's walls to various otherworldly locations, meeting strange entities and disturbing occurrences, with the player unsure of what's real. While not as overwhelming as I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, Sanitarium is still fairly disturbing in its own right, as its mystery compels you onwards. Song of Horror. For a relatively unknown title, Song of Horror is pretty ambitious, with 13 playable characters, each with their own unique perspectives, affecting how items and actions are handled. But all of them must inevitably go up against the Presence, a nigh unstoppable terror that pursues them. If any character dies, you immediately shift to another while the Presence adapts accordingly. While it can be slow-paced and punishing, Song of Horror looks great and offers some genuinely terrifying scenarios.
Julia?
The Silver Case. As Suda51's first title, Grasshopper Manufacturers, The Silver Case is a mix of investigative mystery, visual novel, and horror. Set in the 24 wards of Tokyo, the story sees detectives attempting to nab Kamui, a serial killer who may be involved in a recent spate of murders. Boasting neo-noir aesthetics and a first-person perspective, The Silver Case has its fair share of gore. It may not be the most terrifying game on this list, but it's plenty disturbing and trippy in its own ways. Downfall. Downfall is the story of Joe, a man who would do anything for his wife. Of course, given that this is a game from the creator of The Cat Lady, this isn't a simple love story. As the couple travel to a hotel to try to fix their marriage, Joe's wife disappears, and he must deal with the manipulative manager to potentially reunite with her. Focusing more on dialogue and exploration, the aesthetic is a grimy kind of macabre, and the story doesn't hold back from its brutality. Siren. Next to the juggernauts of the genre, the Siren series has always been kind of underappreciated. Nevertheless, the first game's tale of Hanuda Village, where the majority of the population turn into terrifying Shibido, is still worth experiencing. Playing as 10 survivors over different chapters, one alternates between different perspectives to complete objectives and survive. You can also use sightjacking to experience the POV of a human, or Shibido, that's close by and shift between different POVs quickly. Lone Survivor, the Director's Cut. Lone Survivor is hard to really describe without outright spoiling its core premise. You're a survivor, battling through foes in a city decimated by an unknown disease. Finding survivors is key, but so is maintaining your health, and you can either engage in combat or be stealthy and avoid foes. It becomes clear that things aren't what they seem, and based on your choices, different endings can unfold. The Director's Cut adds on to all of this, with enhanced lighting, new areas and endings, new side quests, and much more. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.